That is true. Not a single word of that. And what was the advice that he gave to the Republican caucus? Just don't do town halls. No more town halls. Just stop doing them. So we have angry voters who are pissed at us for what we're doing. Okay, well, let's just avoid them completely and keep doing what we're doing. Duh. This is wild, bro. I mean, again, it's hard at this point to seriously use the word democracy to describe us. We're clearly more of an oligarchy and a kleptocracy and a kakistocracy. This is so far from a democracy. I mean, you totally removing town halls because the voters are pissed. So what? You're saying, like, by definition, we could do nothing wrong where all of our constituents would be furious at us and showing up at town halls. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. No matter what we do, it is not unpopular by definition. If people get mad at us, it's not our fault, it's their fault. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, more. So here's again, this is quiet part out loud times a million. Republican Representative McCormick, he's asked a question about the Doge firings. Listen to what he admits here.
Congressman, should Doge be firing veterans?
I think there's going to be layoffs in every business and government, and sometimes those people will be veterans. If the job is not necessary, or if there's a requirement, veterans have been laid off since the beginning of hirings, and that's every administration, by the way. So, yeah, there's going to be some layoffs of veterans. That's the way every business and every government process has been. Only when necessary.
There's going to be some layoffs of veterans. That's what he said. Acting like, bro, it's not even a choice. Obviously, we have to do that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Nothing has ever been less true than that in human history. Of course, it's a fucking choice. And this country would normally choose, let's treat our veterans kindly. Let's make sure they get health care. Let's make sure they have job opportunities. But Elon went in there and said, I'm going to cancel 1,000 contracts worth $2 billion that went to disabled veterans. And so now people are pissed. And they're like, bro, you're firing a lot of veterans all over the place here. Should Doge be firing veterans? And he was basically like, yeah, let them fire. Like, I'm going to repeat this. They do not give a flying fuck about you. Scumbags like this, all he cares about is money, power, and control. That's it. He's trying to climb that ladder in the MAGA hierarchy, suck up to Trump as much as possible, try to get as much money, as much power, as much control in this short time frame. And they don't give a fuck who they have to hurt to get to that point. They don't care. They don't care. Now imagine for a second a Democratic congressperson was asked the question, hey, should you be firing veterans? And they were like, yeah, there's going to be some layoffs of veterans. What would the reaction be on Fox News? What would it be on Newsmax? What would it be on One American News Network? What would it be on the Daily Wire? What would it be? It would be the most outrage you've ever seen in your entire life, and they wouldn't ever shut the fuck up about it. They'd be running this in ads all across the country, right? That's what it would be. That's what it would be. All right, I still got more for you, though. Let's go to this one. So now this is Mike Johnson again. He's asked, hey, what about one of the things Elon did where they killed, like, the Veterans Crisis Hotline, right? So, like, if a veteran's thinking of committing suicide and they call this number, the whole point of it is, like, let's save these veterans' lives. Here's his answer.
What do you say to the people across the country who work for the VA who can't man the suicide hotline now because Elon has fired them? Like, what is your message to them? Because they're getting mad at Republicans.
Yeah, look, we have to take care of our veterans, and the VA needs employees who are doing this noble work. I think the president kind of did a recalibration yesterday. He brought in Elon and he brought in the cabinet secretaries, and they had a dialogue about the process. You have to formalize more of this. Now, look, in Elon's defense, there is no playbook for what he's doing. This has never been done before. So as he acknowledged, there are going to be some mishaps and mistakes along the way, but we will do course correction immediately, and that's what you'll see.
That's not what happened. They fired them, and they're still fired. This is his new dodge, and Elon himself has said this. Look, we move fast, but, if we fuck up, we'll fix it. That's a lie. Because he said the same thing about, we accidentally cut off the Ebola funding, which, by the way, what a fucking admission, even if that were the case. But no, he didn't accidentally do it. He did it on purpose, and then he did not bring the money back. He didn't. So he's just, look, again, I want to reiterate this. These people depend on lying. They lie. That's what they do. Their whole political philosophy, part and parcel of it, is we got to lie as much as possible. The things that we do that have zero justification, that we cannot convince anybody of one way or the other, just lie. So here he is pretending, like, oh yeah, by the way, if a Democrat just temporarily cut off the veteran suicide hotline, what would the reaction be? Here we have, he's pretending Elon temporarily cut it. He didn't. It's still cut. and acting like, whatevs, bro. It is what it is, dog. No big deal. These people are extremists. They're anti-government fundamentalists. They're anarcho-capitalists. They want to give all the money and power to the billionaire class and the military-industrial complex, and they are bringing that to fruition. That's what they're doing. And at the same time this is going on, Americans borrowed $74 billion last year to cover their health care costs. $74 billion just last year they had to borrow to get health care in what's supposed to be the richest country in the world. More. A new report came out. $80 trillion has been redistributed from the bottom 90% of Americans to the top 1% since 1975. In 2023 alone, the upward redistribution was $3.9 trillion. That's enough to give every full-time worker in the bottom 90% a $32,000 a year raise. Let me repeat that. In 2023 alone, the amount the top 1% stole from the bottom 90% would be enough to give every full-time worker in the bottom 90% a $32,000 a year raise. As this is going on, what are the Republicans doing? Firing veterans and firing disabled veterans and running away from their angry constituents at their town halls. Special place in hell for these scumbags, by the way. Special place in hell. All right, then we have this. So, Doge is firing thousands of IRS agents. And the problem when you do that is it has a compounding effect because the IRS agents are there. They help get the government revenue by doing their job and making sure, for example, the wealthy are paying their fair share because the wealthy tax cheats dodge a colossal amount of money in taxes. And so they're firing the people who audit the wealthy folks. In fact, it's literally the case. There's a division that audits companies with more than $10 million in assets, and they're destroying that division. They're getting rid of that division. So in other words, the people they're firing are specifically the people who make sure the rich are not cheating their taxes, right? Well, guess what? The top 1% evades more than $163 billion in taxes each year. Each year. And Musk and Trump think that number's too low. They want them to dodge more. So at the same time they're firing veterans, at the same time they're hiding from their constituents because of all their unpopular decisions, they're doing this. Super serving wealthy tax cheats. Isn't that great? Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.